What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're going to be looking at some more weapons in Season 18, although not all of them are exclusively tied to Season of Plunder, because we're going to be taking a look at incandescent weapons. And so in the video we'll be highlighting some of the best incandescent weapons, many of them newly updated or introduced in the season, and we'll take a look at basically all of the guns that can roll it, including some that are pretty easy to access, and we'll highlight some of the better weapons, because of course incandescent is pretty insane. These are some of the absolute best legendary weapons in Destiny 2, but additionally we'll break down all of the weapons that can roll randomly with it as well. So I hope you guys enjoy the video as always, and otherwise let's get into it. We should do a very basic introduction to Incandescent for players who perhaps don't know much about it, and it's a weapon perk that allows defeating a target to spread Scorch to those nearby, and more powerful combatants and opposing guardians will cause Scorch in a larger radius. And with Scorch being a solar effect, of course, this does pair best with solar subclasses. You don't strictly have to use a Solar 3.0 class, but Incandescent will be most beneficial when taking advantage of various solar effects, like Ignition, which creates solar explosions when enough Scorch stacks hit targets. And bear in mind as well that various solar fragments will synergize with Scorch. Most important is Ember of Ashes, which increases Scorch stacks applied to targets. And based on LightGG's community research tab, kills with incandescent weapons will apply 30 Scorch to enemies, but Ember of Ashes will increase that to 40 Scorch stacks. Then the enhanced version of that perk grants 40 stacks, which goes up to 85 when Ember of Ashes is equipped. So potentially useful to know right there. And additionally, damage boosts for weapons will affect Incandescent as well, whether it's mods or buffs from subclasses. Plus, Incandescent counts as weapon damage more broadly, so when your weapon applies Scorch to multiple targets, that'll go ahead and proc perks like Stats for All or Unrelenting, which is super powerful. And with that said, let's speak about some of the best weapons with Incandescent. I should give a big shout out to my pal Duddits right here. He's let me use a bunch of his incandescent weapons. Be sure to check out his channel linked below. A new one that players are into this season is the Amit AR2. We recently covered a roll of this solar precision frame auto rifle with enhanced incandescent, and it's an absolute monster in PvE, pretty much better on average than most of the exotic auto rifles in the game. And the good thing about this one is that it's pretty easy to obtain through a new quest at the Relic Conduit on Mars. So be sure to pick that up if you haven't already, because both of the rewards from that quest thread are excellent. And importantly, it unlocks Amit as a craftable weapon. With enhanced incandescent right here, Amit becomes a pretty crazy ad control specialist. Again, we have Ember of Ashes here on a solar subclass, so that's adding even more stacks of Scorch that burn through these enemies. And because of Amit's ability to keep hitting a lot of targets as they spread out, we can get Incandescent to continue proccing for an extended period of time. And perhaps one of the best trait pairings for PvE is Ambitious Assassin, as well as Incandescent, because rapid kills, including those from Incandescent Scorch, will overflow the magazine, allowing us to get that magazine up to 110 rounds with extended and backup mag. And it's an incredibly fun weapon, so definitely worth checking out. And if you want to check out the full potential roles for these weapons, since we've been looking at LightGG right here, I'll link the database down below. It's an awesome website. You can search any of the weapons in the game and see what they can potentially roll. And when we covered the Amit auto rifle, a lot of players spoke about the Callus mini tool. This is a 900 RPM solar SMG, and it drops through activities on Leviathan and can be crafted by completing 5 red border extractions of the weapon. Much like Amit, this can apply Scorch to a lot of enemies as you unload the magazine. Obviously, it's more limited on range, and it's best used more aggressively. The damage from this archetype isn't bad for PvE at all, and the same applies for the craftable weapons. It can get enhanced incandescent, and then, looking at the popular perk rolls on LightGG, a pairing of accurized rounds and then Unrelenting, which allows rapidly defeating targets to trigger health regeneration, as well as Incandescent, is an extremely popular roll. Again, Unrelenting will count its targets via Scorch stacks, so it's almost automatic health regen as soon as you're firing at a group of enemies. Obviously, that increases the viability as an aggressive weapon. And for Callus Mini Tool, Incandescent is so popular as the second slot perk that 70% of all rolls have it, and that's based on more than 70,000 copies of the weapon. It can also roll Surrounded, Feeding Frenzy, and more, but those perks are available on other SMGs, which is why people look to Incandescent instead when it comes to Mini Tool. Next, let's speak about Zauli's Bane. This is the only hand cannon that can roll Incandescent. Of course, it drops from King's Fall, and the archetype is adaptive frame. There are mixed feelings about the base weapon handling and all of that kind of stuff. However, the perk pool on this weapon is really nice. Obviously, it isn't necessarily an easy weapon to obtain for some players, as it is raid loot, and to craft again will require red border drops to be obtained from the raid. However, it can be set up kind of like a mini Sunshot, with its first trait slot able to roll explosive payload, which can then be paired with Incandescent or Firefly. Obviously, both of them are very appealing combos. The main benefit of taking Firefly over Incandescent is the reload speed bonus, but if you can tolerate not having that reload speed, Incandescent is naturally again really fun. Plus, King's 4 weapons get the origin trait, where reloading near allies will overflow the magazine. That's a really useful one. Again, there are a bunch of other perks that you could roll or craft on the weapon, but for now, explosive payload paired with Incandescent or Firefly is an incredibly popular roll on this hand cannon. A couple of weapons that I don't have access to right here, but we should mention some Dares of Eternity weapons that can now roll Incandescent. The first one is Retraced Path. This is the Trace Rifle from Dares of Eternity, and this can now roll Incandescent, which sounds exciting. And if you think about it, it could potentially be like a mini Prometheus lens, obviously replacing the main perk with Incandescent, which is probably more effective anyway. And then if you crafted Retraced Path with Subsistence, it'd have the exact same ammo return effect that Prometheus lens has. So if you were lucky enough to get a roll or red borders to craft the enhanced version of Retraced Path, it could be pretty awesome and maybe even similar to Amit in a lot of ways. Another weapon worth mentioning on the subject of dares though is the BXR Battler, which can also now roll Incandescent. It's not a personal favourite of mine, but there are some good roles for PvP and PvE. One of the interesting potential roles that it can get now is a pairing of Demolitionist and Incandescent. Not sure if that's been tested, but if Scorch stacks count as kills for ammo the same way as they do with a lot of the other bonuses, it could be pretty off the chain in PvE as well. Either way, it's there if you want to check it out. Shotguns with Incandescent are an interesting one though. The first shotgun that we got with the bonus is Without Remorse. This is from back in Season of the Haunted. Can be earned as random drops, or there are ways to purchase from the seasonal vendor. And my pal Duddits right here, I'll link his channel down below, has a roll of this thing with stats for all, as well as Incandescent. The shotgun has the enhanced version of Incandescent, and you can see right here, pretty much getting one kill and then absolutely burning through a bunch of really low tier enemies. And obviously with the right solar healing, especially with the Titan, it's possible to really get in the mix with a bunch of enemies, and it's remarkable just how far that Scorch will spread. Stats for all is proccing immediately as well from the Incandescent stacks, and hitting 3 separate targets is increasing weapon handling, stability, reload, and range. So all of that's kind of feeding together right here. Obviously it's a lot of fun doing stuff like what you can see in the gameplay, but while this won't be the weapon for every kind of encounter, there are certain encounters in the game where this shotgun is absolutely ludicrous. And so certainly worth checking out with Incandescent. And while we're on that subject of Season of Haunted weapons, there's also Fixed Odds, which drops from the Duality dungeon. My buddy Duddits once again has a really nice roll of this one, and we've got Enhanced Incandescent pairing with Encore, where Precision Final Blows grant a stacking range bonus to the weapon, and Non-Precision Final Blows remove range stacks but grant bonus accuracy and stability when all range stacks have been removed. And you can see with both of those bonuses enhanced right here, we're chewing through enemies really quick and we're getting some massive ignitions. Fixed Odds feeling pretty strong for a machine gun in general as well. This is absolutely one to pay attention to. I'd easily say it's one of the strongest heavy machine guns in the game. Now though, let's mention more weapons that can get the Incandescent perk. We're going to spend a little bit less time focusing on the remaining weapons. It's difficult to go into a lot of depth when there are quite a few weapons in the list. But another one that's really fun this season is the Cry Mutiny. This is available via the ritual vendors this season at rank 16. It's an adaptive frame heavy grenade launcher, and it has volatile launch and mini frags. Then for the traits, the option of Incandescent or Demolitionist, paired with Swashbuckler or Vorpal weapon. Could be a pretty fun one to pick up, and according to my buddy Jarv, it actually fires cannonballs, more or less. Of course, looking back to Season of Haunted, also from Leviathan and this season activities, you can get Drang, as well as the beloved sniper rifle. Both of those can roll Incandescent too. Of course, they are craftable weapons. Then there are a few playlist non-craftable weapons that can get it, and that includes the Strident Whistle. That's a precision frame bow that can drop via Vanguard strikes and rank up packages on Zavala. Then there's the Staccato 46, precision frame scout rifle, and that's a world drop from legendary engrams and faction rank up packages. And the first rocket launcher that's going to be able to get it is the Roar of the Bear, which is the updated version of that weapon for Iron Banner in Season 18. We'll have to see what it's like, but it's interesting that we now have most of the archetypes in the game with at least one weapon able to roll Incandescent. On the most part, I like it on the kind of primary and energy weapons, although I do tend to stick to very meta weapons in my heavy slot. Either way, I thought it might be interesting for you guys to see a breakdown of the weapons that can roll it. Even though we're in the Arc 3.0 era, Bungie is still bringing out Incandescent weapons that are absolutely insane, especially with the right setups on those solar classes. So let us know any of your favourites down below in the comment section, or of course any that you're working towards being able to craft or grinding for. If you've enjoyed the video today, a rating below really does help us out on the channel. Plus, if you want to see more Destiny content, feel free to get subscribed and I'll keep you up to date. Otherwise though, for today, thank you for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys very soon.